progress.
So there's just aliveness, there's just what's appearing to happen. Rooming, phoenix parking, seagulling, chairing, bodying. There's just energy, and energy is unknowable. It's nothing being everything. So when I say energy and unconditional love and wholeness and oneness, I mean all the same. This is what we're talking about. But that can't be described or known. It can only be kind of pointed towards. And that's what we'll be doing all afternoon, really. It's the illumination. This is a simple, direct illumination from nothing, that all there is already is just wholeness, just aliveness. And the sense then that we have of feeling that I'm alive, or I have a life, that I'm an individual, that is a story. It's something that arises in aliveness, and it is a really felt, embodied sense in the body of feeling in here, and there's an out there then. So there's a sense, an energetic sense that it's my life. So they're my thoughts, they're my feelings. It's me that hears, it's me that sees, it's me that touches, it's me that feels emotions. Everything pours through this sense of me, and I really feel as though I have a life and I'm living my life. And it's told to me in the story and confirmed to me since when I was a child that I do have a life, and the choices I make will determine how my life looks. So either if I make good choices, it will work out better; bad choices, it will work out worse. And so on. And I exercise that volition and free will, and I live my life to kind of improve it or whatever. And so that's what we're told, and that's what we experience also. That feels like a reality, that I have a life and I'm relating to different people, and I did this and I did that, and other people did other things, and so on. And for many, that's fine. There's not really an issue with that, and it seems to be working out whatever way it works out for them, and it really kind of goes unquestioned. For others, there's a question about that, or there's a question that there's something missing in this whole reality, that they have a life and that they can be happy by earning a lot of money or getting the promotion in the job or getting the bigger house or whatever it is. There's a question. And so there is a question then, logically, there's a sense, because you're in a logical, linear, causal reality, that I can do something to get the thing that's missing then. I can fill the gap, I can answer the question. And then we hear all these communications as to what it is that's missing and what we can do to get that thing that's missing. So those are quite appealing, because we really do feel, when I really feel that it's my life and I'm living it, and there's a world out there, there's a yearning and there's a question and there's a sense of unworthiness. So these communications then will appeal to me, and I will be attracted to one over another. So the ones that offer me a prescriptive methodology by which to find, say, wholeness, will be the popular ones then. If I sit in mindful awareness, or I reside in the present, or I try and do self-inquiry to trace the I, or I do meditation, or whatever it is, these are very appealing to the individual, because they reinforce that there is a separate self who can do something to get somewhere. There's nothing right or wrong with any of these. They're just what appears to happen. There's nothing wrong with these communications, but this is a different communication then. This is from nothing, it's from nobody. It's a direct, uncompromising illumination that there is no separate you. There is no individual. There's nobody sitting in this room. There's bodies in this room. There's no separate individual in this room already. It's already the case that there's no separation. And that when you do feel like an individual, actually what is being yearned for is what is appearing to happen. It's simply directly already whatever's appearing to happen. Sensations, sitting on the chair, sounds. This is unconditional love, our wholeness already. So that's what's been illuminated all afternoon, all apparent all afternoon. And obviously there will be questions about that, because that's how this seems to function. But you can't go right or wrong with the question. It really doesn't matter. You can sit here all afternoon and not say a single word. Nothing is expected of you. There is no you in the room. There's no separate you in the room. So it may also be the case that there are lots of questions, and you can't go wrong with the questions either, because it's energetically, this is how this whole sharing appears to work. There's a question, and there seems to be an answer from here. Now, logically, to the individual or to the mind, it would be, well, this chap sitting up here either knows something or pretends to know something, or speaking from some sort of knowledge, whether he's right or wrong, because that's how things appear to function in the story. We live in knowing, and people have authority from having expertise and knowledge. So he knows something, maybe I can understand what he knows and I can get to where he is, to put it kind of simply and crudely. But actually, what's been illuminated is not about knowing at all, because what you're looking for is unknowable. It has nothing to do with knowing or understanding. So although you might want an answer, or there seems to be when there's a question, and there appears to be an answer from here, it's not about the answer or the question. It's kind of how the whole sharing seems to function, is that there's a question and there's an answer. But if you want to just stay with the question and the answer, you're kind of just staying with the concept. And this is not conceptual at all. This is not about knowing or understanding or concept. It's all regarding a resonance, an energetic resonance. That's what this is. It's all about an unknowable isness that can't be had, can't be known, can't be obtained, can't be grasped, and cannot be escaped from, because it's already all that is. It's too obvious, actually, what's yearned for. That is the problem. For the apparent problem for the individual is what they seek is not esoteric and complicated and full of levels. It's actually too direct and immediately just already whatever appears to happen. Simply just sitting on a chair, sounds, a thought, whatever it is. That's it. That's already wholeness. And a sense that you have, that you are in that or relating to that, is simply a story. So we will we'll see what happens. See what apparently happens this afternoon. Yeah. It's a little bit warm in this. Actually, I'm going to take this off.
When you say you might...
Do you want to grab that, Mark? Sorry, I know it's a pain, but
No, that's okay. That's okay.
the people online will hear you a lot better. It's on, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when you say you might just stay with the question and answer,
Yeah.
but this is energetic, but at the same time, there's no choice in that.
Oh, there's none at all. No. That would be what would appear to happen.
That's what, yeah.
Like there's just the invitation here that this is already all that is. This is what's sought, and there's the illumination that it's energetic. It's not about you knowing something. So when people come to the meeting, sometimes some people, they are very analytical and in that kind of trying to understand it, and their focus is very much on that, on getting an answer to the question. Now, obviously, there is nobody doing that. So it's just been pointed out at the beginning that it's to do with a resonance. And that's all, because someone will either be analytical and stay in concept, or they won't. It doesn't, and it doesn't. The other thing is, it doesn't matter. One is not better or preferable to the other. So actually, like how the individual hears this is totally irrelevant, completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter, because there is no individual already. Oh, hi, how are you? Good to see you. Fine. So it's like in the same way that what's yearned for is completely nothing to do with you, or the way you think you are, or whatever. So energetically, there's no individual in the room, but energetically, that feels like an individual will continually try and get something out of the meeting, and that's totally fine. That's what appears to happen. But it can also be the invitation is there, and the possibility is there that it's seen that actually what they're yearning for is nothing to do with them, and there's nothing to get, and there is no meeting. That it's energetic. That's like, I can't really state it more than that, because it's indescribable, which may make it sound kind of complicated and esoteric, but it's not. It's actually very simple.
And the yearning then is, again, that's not the yearning of the individual, it's just the yearning.
Yeah, there is no individual, but when there's a sense of separation, there's a yearning to not feel separate.
Yeah.
So that feels separate yearns to not feel separate, where it's at the same time just only being interested in being separate. This is the big paradox. Like, the individual really is just going around in a closed loop of me, really. But there is no, like, it's a dissatisfactory or an unsatisfactory reality, because it's a half alive reality. So therefore there's a yearning for, because everything feels like, once you feel like there's a you, it feels like everything has been lost. Wholeness has been lost, because why is there me and the world out there? There's little old me in the world out there. And then there's a yearning out of that then to not be separate. The individual is just kind of in this loop of being separate, only interested in being separate and continuing to be separate, and only within that loop, it's just feeding on that loop of knowing. That's why I'm not speaking to an individual. So, and the individual can't hear it anyway, because again, it's an apparent individual, and the individual just wants to be an individual. And for some, there isn't such a strong yearning, or there's not such a resonance, and there wouldn't be any resonance with this. They'd be like, what is he talking about? I have no idea. But for some, there tends to be some kind of sensitivity that there's another possibility. Like, it can kind of appear to get, when we talk like this, somewhat complicated, maybe not, but it can, and it's not actually. It always comes back to it's very simple and direct, and just whatever is appearing to happen. But when you feel separate, that's overlooked and not seen. So what's yearned for isn't seen, because what's the individual feels they're yearning for is an abstraction or an idea of how things could be better. So they reject what's yearned for in favor of what could be, what might be. And that's that sense that people have of kind of moving forward towards something that's kind of around the corner. You know, when I get the job, when I get that job, oh, when I get the job, oh yeah, the job is good, but I kind of want to be manager, I think, and I'd get to manager, and I'd like to be area manager maybe, you know, and then you get to that corner and it's like, oh, CEO would be just, then I'd be there. Yeah. You know, taking an obvious, silly, stupid example, but like that mechanism is that, it's just that illustration of how we feel like we're driving forward, we're kind of looking for something, but we don't know what it is. And incredibly, the amazing thing is you won't ever know what it is actually, because it's unknowable. You will never find it either, because it's not a thing you can find. It's already the case. It's just aliveness itself is what's been yearned for. And in fact, really, it's kind of the reverse really of what people think it is, because it's actually the loss. It's a loss, it's not a gain. As an individual, you're in a subject-object reality and you think you're looking for something that you will find around the corner. And then, because that makes sense, it's, I feel I'm an individual, I have a life, something is missing. I live where I see things and experiences and objects. So if I find the thing or the experience or the object, then that will be the thing that will fill the gap. And then I'll be there. And incredibly, actually, what's yearned for doesn't involve any kind of gain, but it's a loss of the sense of this separateness, this separate I that appears to be there. The cruel thing is it's not really there. Yeah. You know, this isn't a meeting all afternoon about how you can, your individuality can fall away. Really, it's an illumination that your sense of being an individual is a story. So if it's a story, that means it's not really going to fall away, because it's not actually really there to begin with. But the really felt sensation of it, of feeling separate, may not be there. Like that's a huge paradox for the individual. They can't really, because it's either the individual is duality and is me and my life and life, you know, and very much that's like I'm either there or I'm not there, which is I'm either there, either as an individual or there isn't. That's the way it is.
And when you say that which feels separate, now, I suppose that alone, that's a paradox, isn't it? That which feels separate.
Yeah.
Because really there isn't anything.
Yeah, completely. Like,
but it's words, I suppose. But it's.
I know, it's fine. I mean, that's what I said at the beginning.
Yeah.
You say this is what this whole thing is about. Is that you can say whatever comes to mind about what we're talking about. So it's that I see your point. Like, I mean, when you feel like an individual, say it's a subject, you're a subject, right? And there's 8 or 10 billion subjects, then there's 8 or 10 centers of the universe, 8 or 10 billion centers of the universe. And we can't all be right. Yeah. You know, so it's obviously it's a reality, it's a false reality in which you're the subject and everything is an object to you. Yeah. And that's the way, that's a really felt sense. It really does feel like people are looking at me, there's a me they're looking at, and when I talk to people there's a me that's talking to them. I'm relating to you, we're having a conversation, I'm relating to you, and it's in time and space, and it can then go well or not well, and there's meaning and significance in it and all of this, and this is kind of the world we're living in. And when you feel like that, when you feel like a subject and you feel like an individual, you will only see other individuals. So it's impossible. It cannot be seen. What's being shared here, when you really feel like an individual, you will just see an individual. So when I talk like this, then it's the apparent individual will really feel that there's something happened to Kenneth. It had to have something. There's something there that happened there, and it will feel like that here Kenneth is speaking from a kind of center point. And it would be very confusing to the individual, because they will try and continually pin it on me or on somebody. For something to happen, there has to be somebody, because I feel like a somebody. Is that addressing what you're saying? Because I feel like that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
You're kind of locating who is it then that...
Well, I suppose, yeah, well, it does really, but there's the whole, that which feels separate is, there isn't anything that feels separate.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the appearance of feeling separate, yeah.
I suppose that's, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Maybe that's what I was asking. It's an appearance.
Another way of putting it is, all there is energy. Right,
yeah.
So there's just energy, and energy, chairs and rooms and Dublins and everything, and in that energy, then there's the appearance of an individual. So the energy is boundless and infinite and eternal, and then energy appears as limited in time and space as a separate self. But it's a story. It's just a story. It's energy, it's wholeness appearing as a separate entity to wholeness. And then you have duality. You then have two. So all of this comes under non-duality, which is not two. So the very term itself is just the direct pointing that there's not you and the world. There never was. So there is no separate you. There's just what's appearing to happen. But all the time you feel like there's a you, then you're in that reality. And that's not an idea, it's a really felt sense. And then you're trying to understand then what's being said here, because your lived experience is one that you can understand the world. You can know it. And that knowing, the suggestion being made is that knowing is actually just a story. Yeah. It doesn't feel like a story. It feels really real, and it feels like the world is knowable, and it does feel like you're separate. If you say it does, I don't know, because I can't see any separate individuals.
But conceptually, this makes sense, which is nothing to do with what you're talking about. But since hearing this message a few years back, there is a sense of something different. But it's like conceptually, you can nearly argue this and say, yeah, it couldn't be any other way. But I know that's not what you're saying, or nothing. But it's a strange sort of sense of, well, this is obvious.
Yeah.
But that's very conceptual. That's like, you can nearly make a reasoned argument that this is the case. Which
you
is
very much could, you can follow it from a logical point of view, and that's the whole point. Really, is that again, it's non-duality. I mean, the individual is in this play of apparent opposites, in which everything is logical and linear and sane, and that's it. And then insane and illogical and chaos and all of that, that's not it. So that's the whole game of feeling like an individual. But you could certainly know what's been said here, and people do know what's been said, and they know all about non-duality, and they know all about all of its branches, and they know about Advaita, and they know about branches of Zen Buddhism, and blah, blah, blah. And they know all about the different religions and spiritual traditions that more or less kind of say this, and they can talk on, they can come out with the lovely quotes, and it doesn't matter. Because they're in knowing, so they know that they're not there really. Now it could bring a huge relief, in the sense of they could have had some very fixed paradigm of how life is, and that could have fallen apart then. And then they see there could be a certain freedom in that, but that's not really what's been spoken about. That's just what is appearing to happen. It has no meaning at all. It has no. This is really about a lived sense of separation, a lived sense that I'm sitting on a chair. It's not an idea, like it's a lived sense. If I feel like an individual, I will have energetically, I will have a feeling that I'm sitting on the chair, and everything I do, I'll have a feeling that I'm speaking now. There'll be a sense of self-consciousness and awareness that is simply an aspect of knowing, and that knowing is simply an aspect of your sense of separateness. So it's all energetic. Like either energetically you feel that way, or you don't. It all collapses, and that collapse is not a gain of knowledge or some sort of understanding. It's actually a loss. It's total loss of everything. It's a loss of everything you think you know, you think you have. It's complete loss of everything, and then nothing. There's just nothing, and nothing is everything. This is nothing. This is nothing appearing as a room in a hotel in Dublin, and this is actually everything. This is boundless wholeness. This is everything rooming in Dublin. To the individual, it's a separate thing called a room in which they are sitting in a place, and there's all these boundaries and and knowing. So there's either a sense, there's either a lived sense of moving in time, and you have your life, or there isn't. And there can be kind of an in and out of that, obviously, as well. Apparently, in and out of that. You cold, Alvin? You're always cold. It's what it is. course you can, yeah.
This is on, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just for the...
It'll go through to the other side.
Yeah, they'll pick you up online, yeah.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, that's my question. Sometimes it seems like there may be glimpses or some clarity about what you're pointing at.
Yeah.
And whether or not I feel I'm a person, I usually feel I'm a person.
Yeah.
Whether I can see it, sometimes I can see through a little bit. But one of my most recent, recent fears, for the last good long time has been like that habitual thoughts and whatnots that are here, whether I call them a person or not, they seem pretty bloody determined, to be honest. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm from my childhood maybe or something that kind of goes, this may be reality, maybe the truth, that's maybe what and who you are. I don't care. You're not allowed to go there. You must stay here in the thought process, and that's the only safe place for you. You can't go there. You don't have permission. Being yourself, being present, being spontaneous, not allowed. Dangerous. Don't go there. And then the thoughts bring me back from presence, which is sometimes feels lovely and peaceful and nice. And I'm going, wouldn't it be normal just to stay in peace, presence and whatnot? Wouldn't that be, once you see it a little, wouldn't you just start going there? And part of me is going, no, I could fucking stay here in this thought-created nonsense for the rest of my life because the habits are so determined to keep me here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I get really frustrated going, that's ridiculous. I keep seeing through it and I keep coming back. Anyway, that's long enough for a question, is it? Yeah, I don't know what.
Fine. Anyone is free to.
But I'm just, you know what I mean by the question. I mean.
Yeah, totally. As long as we're somewhat on topic, people can say whatever they want, you know. And it's, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. So, like, for me, that energetic, like the individual is energetic. It's an energetic sense of being separate, and that looped way of thinking is reflective of that. Now, the difficulty here is there's not really a real individual, right? But this is the illumination that it's an appearance. But when it appears, it does appear real, and it has a real fear of its absence, and it has an investment in maintaining itself safe from a world that's outside it. So it was what you described there to me is that's what I hear is an individual saying, we stay here in the known now, right? We stick with what we know, and we stay in this, or whatever way you describe, like a loop here. We'll stay in this because this we know, that we don't know, and what we don't know could kill us. Yeah, you know, and that's exactly what is being illuminated here. Is that this individual is just maintaining the only function of the individual is just to be an individual. So it's maintaining itself safe in its reality, in its known reality, and is afraid of the unknown because the unknown spells its absence and death to the individual. So although that seems that it's what you want and it's keeping you safe, it's also what's being yearned to be broken free from. And your absence is actually what's really sought. So what we all seek is our own absence, and what we're most terrified of is our own absence. We're absolutely terrified of not being there. When we talk about fear of death, really, well, mostly, like when some people talk about fear of death, they're talking about different types of fears, like fear of pain or suffering or whatever. But generally, you're afraid of your not being there, and incredibly, you're actually not there. That's the big joke. That's the divine comedy. Is already you're not actually there. Already, there's no one to keep safe in that. So the suggestion then is that I'm saying very clearly that there's nobody there. So there's nobody there to do anything about that, to do anything or to not do anything about it. But if what's being said is heard and resonates, it can be seen that actually there's just aliveness. That's all there is. So aliveness appears as what you described. Let's just say an uncomfortable feeling, right? To just kind of simplify it and for the point of illustrating, it's an uncomfortable feeling. The individual wants to kind of stay in that, you know, within that, and feels also that there's something like that's outside of it isn't it. It wants to stay in the known of it. But actually the uncomfortable feeling itself is it. You know? So the resolution for that in that case would be staying within the known. That's how I hear that's resolving that, you know what I mean? It's already just whatever's appearing to happen.
Yeah. I guess I'm always looking for something to do, and then I hear there's no doer. What am I supposed to do with that? Yeah. And not doing anything seems to leave me, whoever I am, with this pattern of destruction.
Yeah, but I mean, you see, you're also not being asked not to do anything.
Okay.
You're not, you see, maybe what's been heard is you're saying there's nothing I can do, so not doing anything doesn't work for me. But the illumination here is there's nobody there. So equally, if there's nobody there to do, there's obviously nobody there to not do. Like that's the most common mishearing of what's said. Actually, the most common thing initially I find is people say, "Well, you're saying there's nothing I can do then," and actually, I'm not saying that at all. Unfortunately, it's a little worse than that. Because it's the suggestion actually there's nobody there at all that can either do or not do. So there's just aliveness in that body there. That body there is actually whole, is everything. Because that's all there is. So that body there is actually unconditional love bodying. The misconception is the sense that there's a self in there. And out of that sense of separateness, then there appears to be a problem and there's something missing.
Yeah. Strange, I feel like. What do I feel? I'll just admit, just while I'm here, that whoever I am, as I say, while I'm listening to you, I want you not to be able to answer my question so I can continue to argue. Whereas I could sit here feeling crap, and that would probably be better in some way. You know, because there's a pattern of wanting to argue and then just sitting with.
If you're not doing a very good job arguing now, to be honest. I've seen more argumentative people.
No, I know, but I'm sick of it now. You know.
No, what I'm saying is like, there's no you there. So whatever you think you're doing or not doing doesn't matter. It's just being heard as it's heard. The sense of there being a separate you is irrelevant. You can't hear what I'm saying anyway. There's just simply, directly, just sitting on a chair, speaking, sounds, sensations.
Ooh, sounds boring. Oh my God.
Yeah, great. Yeah, great. Definitely, yeah, that's good feedback. Really, because it's the individual, like, is just bored with what's actually looked for and wants the next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next stimulus? What's around the next corner? Give me something. Like really, energetically, when the individual, the apparent, there is no individual, but energetically, when someone feels like an individual in these meetings, it's like, look at me, you know, feed me, give me something. And that's what makes these meetings different, is all the other meetings, more or less, you are being spoken to, you're being addressed, you're being given something to do, somewhere to get to, and then you're being fed as an individual. It doesn't see you as an individual, and that's just, there's nowhere to go with that. So that's in some way confronting to the individual, whether it's boring or it's maybe even more confronting, or it just, and then also there can be a resonance.
Strange. I can feel that there's nowhere to go. It feels frustrating and whatnot. And then this desire to stay here. I'm going to do something to stay here with the nowhere to go, which is again doing as a desire. It feels like the right thing. I'm here. I have nothing to say whatsoever now. So that sounds like the right place to be. So therefore I have to stay here. So there's a doing then in the staying or something, it feels like. Rather than trusting.
There's nothing to trust, like, and there's nothing to believe. or agree with or anything like that. There's just simply whatever's appearing to happen. So if that's a thought that you, whatever you described there, that's just simply what it is then, that thought. If there's an emotion, then it's also that. If there's standing up and saying, listen, thanks, and walking down that corridor, right, and going down the steps and going in for a pint or into the car or whatever and down the road, that's it. Because this only is apparently a meeting. And that's what's been very clearly communicated. What's yearned for is what is appearing to happen. It's inescapable. You can't have it, you can't know it, you can't grasp it, because it's not a thing, it's not an object, and there's no you, and simultaneously it can't be, it's inescapable. It's all embracing, it's everything that appears to be. And energetically, this sharing, this illumination, that just can be obvious to nobody. Maybe. So there's just what's appearing to happen.
Feels like there's no control. Well, I suppose it should really. It feels like there's no control over
Lift that
everything.
up a bit, just
Oh,
so, yeah.
it feels like there's no control over anything, and I'm thinking, well, there isn't anyway, really, is there? And it always just seemed like there was in my thoughts. I was trying to create stories that I thought I was in control.
Yeah,
But,
so
yeah.
there, as an individual, there's a sense that there is a control over everything. Because of course there is, because you really feel that you have a life. So if you are living your life, which everybody tells you you have since you were that high, and you're living, then you have control over your life, and you have control over the decisions you make about your life. And there's all of that, and then you have millions of communications about making the right decision at the right time, doing the right thing for you, etc. And this communication then is illuminating. It's going to the very heart of the matter and illuminating. The only thing that needs to be illuminated is that there is no you. So therefore, there's no control. The sense of control is all about the sense that there's a you that has a life. There's nothing to control. There's just there's a play of light. There's what appears to happen. And in fact, this is nothing appearing to happen. Appearing to happen. There's nothing even really happening. Because if it was really happening, it would have to be happening to you in time and space. It has to be in that real causal reality. And there really would be time and meaning and all of that then. And here the suggestion is those things are an appearance. They appear, there's what appears to happen, there appears to be time, and it's all a story.
This isn't really, you said this isn't really happening.
No, this is,
Because
you could say it's real and unreal if you want, but as an individual you're in the real because you feel that there's you and everything is happening in time and space. So this now it's not a story for the individual. It's not an appearance. It's actually a real meeting in a hotel room at such a time. You're living in the real, in a causal reality. And what's being suggested is that's an appearance. It's just an appearance. There's energy appearing as whatever, and that causality is just a story, just as you are just a story. So the realness, when that sense of being an individual, I'm trying to get in there. When that sense of being an individual just isn't there, then it's the difference between living in the real and just everything being an appearance. You can't imagine that difference because all you will have is just an idea. When you don't feel separate, everything goes from being real and separate to being a play of light, because everything is nothing and nothing is everything. which is not understandable. Like you can't
Well,
understand that.
I was just going to say, there's no understanding arising of that, so maybe that's a good thing.
Oh well, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just whatever. You don't know. I don't understand that, and nobody does understand that. These are terms that are just used to illuminate. I'm not sitting here speaking from any kind of understanding. If I was, it would be a totally different communication, in which there would be something to know and I know it. This is about unknowing. It's just about just this. This is the free fall that's yearned for, full-on aliveness, that's both feared and simultaneously yearned for. And it is about your absence, not you getting something. And that's unconditional love then.
What's the point of you telling us this?
There's no point to anything. There's no point to anything. So there can only from the perspective of someone who feels like an individual, this is really happening then, and there'd be some point to the communication.
Yeah.
What's being clearly communicated is that there's just whatever is appearing to happen. There's already no separate you. So I don't see some separate individual who I can then save or needs to not be separate. So it's just a sharing without an agenda. It's just shared as it's shared, and then it's heard as it's heard. That's all. It's an agendaless communication.
Okay, so you're kind of compelled to do this?
I don't feel I'm even doing it. I'm not even doing it.
Okay. When
It's
you
just what appears to happen. There's a passion here.
yeah.
It's nothing to do with Kenneth, the character. There's just this passion and this sharing of this, but without any agenda.
Okay. So kind of like you were singing or something.
Yeah, it's just what appears to happen.
Okay. And when you say what's yearned for is this, what you don't mean that literally, do you?
When I say what's yearned for is this,
yeah.
when you say literally, like, I mean, there is no this, you know, but it's just a pointer. So when I say that, the pointer is whatever appears to be happening. So they're sitting on a chair, breathing. We can see some traffic kind of here, the roofs of houses, this beautiful old building. Birds pass by. There's sensations in the body. There's sounds. That's what I mean. You know, but that's not knowable, because once you try and know that, you have something then.
Okay.
The individual wants to know, when you say this, what is this? What do you mean this?
Yeah, like when you say what's yearned for is this immediate, like it's not like I'm yearning to be sitting in the West County Hotel, you know, at a meeting or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, I
It's
get
not-
you.
Yeah.
Like if I was really yearning for, I would have yearned for a more swanky hotel.
Okay, so that's grand.
Yeah. No, I totally hear what you're saying, and what I'm saying is, I don't mean the content of what's appearing to happen.
Yeah.
I mean the energy, just simply the energy. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Like what's yearned for, the suggestion being made, as has been expressed by other speakers, a few other speakers have said, the treasure that is yearned for is not a treasure like the swanky hotel,
Yeah.
or the experience of the swanky hotel or whatever. The treasure is actually aliveness itself, not what is actually appearing to happen in aliveness. So I don't mean that you're yearning for, everyone's yearning for, someone's in a extremely painful situation, and someone's died, and someone's sick, and I don't mean it in that manner of someone who would say, oh, you manifested this
Yeah.
through, this is what you actually brought about through your nonsense, all nonsense. Who would yearn for suffering and pain and death? Do you know what I mean? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that what's yearned for is the very aliveness that is appearing to happen, not what's appearing to happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's what I mean, yeah.
Okay.
And you see that, when that's seen, then the duality collapses, because the duality, you are the duality. You are dualism itself, and what you are then in dualism is you are the wanting to be in the swanky hotel and having them good experiences and not wanting to have to deal with shitty hotels. So I want good experiences, I don't want bad ones. I want pleasure, I don't want pain. I want comfort, I don't want discomfort. I want special. Give me something special, for God's sake. I'm sick of this shit. Mediocre people, mediocre that. You know, we're in this, we are this dualism, and we're pushing away one and we're pulling in the other. And that all collapses when the sense of you collapses, because all of that is about this illusionary self, separate self, as like a comfort for having lost everything. And then when it appears, and when I say collapses, I mean appears to collapse, then it's seen by nothing, that there's just aliveness. And aliveness appears as something pleasant and unpleasant. It appears as pleasure and pain. So therefore, ergo, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
There's literally nowhere to go anymore, because it's simply boundless wholeness, unconditional love, appearing as that, whether it's positive or negative. Whether it doesn't matter the context. Sitting in a chair in the West County, looking out the window, you know, is just what appears to happen, and it's really, it's everything. This is everything. It's not really. It appears as a room in the West County with some guy talking on a Saturday afternoon, and I'm missing the rugby. It's actually boundless, eternal infinity, and whatever words you want to use. See, the words don't really matter. The reason that's not seen is because it feels, maybe, perhaps when you talk, that you feel that, I don't know, but it feels for some that I'm sitting in a room in the West County. And so it's all coming back to me. It's like a presupposition all the time. Me. Everything comes back to me. And there is no you. There never has been. Like, there's thoughts, they're my thoughts. I'm feeling bad. Think of the language we use. It's all me. How do you feel? What do you think? And in experientially, and as I said, when you're really young, your parents, the teachers, everything confirms you have a life. You are an individual with a life. And we really feel and experience that we're relating to other people. And there's a dissatisfaction in it. There's a yearning in it. There's a yearning for it just to be not somebody, not some guy who I know that I'm speaking to, that I have some sort of a relationship or friendship with. There's a yearning for it to just be aliveness, body. And that's the same with everything. There's a yearning for it to be not be me and the tree, or me and the sunset. It's just that it's life sunsetting. And the invitation is constant. It's always there. And then what you have is indescribable. So if you go from a sense that there's me in the tree and me in the sunset and me talking to you and me having a life, I can't describe it then. It's complete free fall, unconditional love, that there's just aliveness. And that is liberation. That is the liberation that's referred to in a lot of these traditions. The problem is that there's an overlay of dogma and theory and concept onto them then. And we hear them as something that I can be liberated. Yeah. I can be enlightened. Enlightenment is the seeing that there is nobody. Nobody's ever become enlightened. It's beyond understanding. It's incredibly simple. Cannot be understood.
just an observation, but whenever there's a question here, a seeming question, it's fairly quickly realized the question's pointless. There is no question. But at the same time, there's like intense fear of the emptiness. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that?
That's the sense of feeling separate. So there's it's resonating whatever way it's resonating, and there's a sense that as the question comes up, it's kind of dying into its own, it can be seen there is not only is there no answer, but there's not really even a question, really. As I was saying at the beginning, it does not matter. You could apparently sit here for the whole afternoon, not say a single word, apparently, because it'd just be an appearance, or you could be question after question after question. It has no significance, it doesn't matter. It's all energetic. And it's unique to, like, everyone will describe maybe something different, and that's what will appear to be happening for them. So the fear is fear of your absence, because it's very obviously being illuminated here. You're not sitting on that chair there. So that feels that it is sitting on the chair isn't going to be too thrilled about that. So there you go, then you have fear. The suggestion then, of course, is that the fear is it. Of course, the fear is aliveness. Like, the fear is already it. Whereas the individual would feel, I feel fear. I want to kind of know this fear, and I want to kind of do something with it.
Yeah, it's like half shows up. Only the fear shows up without the aliveness.
Okay, yeah. But there is only aliveness, so it's just aliveness as fear. But there may be a sense that it's your fear. That's what I'm saying. Whereas if there was no sense of being separate, it would just be fear. It would just be, or just energy as fear or whatever. But this, from hearing you talk, the way you're describing it, it's the sense I can't see an individual there, is what I'm saying. There is no individual sitting on that chair there looking at me now talking. There's just aliveness talking. But from the way you're talking, it seems that there's maybe the felt sense of separation.
Yeah, but it's also, I'm talking about it in relation to many little glimpses, right? Where that fear just, I don't even know what it is, but there is that sense of pure emptiness. And I guess maybe the fear just follows it. And then, nothing. It's neither fear nor, pure calmness.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, it's just story, yeah.
It's just story, really. Yeah, it's just like what appears to happen. Yeah. So there's not really even a glimpse of anything. There's just aliveness, and there can be a sense of feeling you're alive, and maybe that comes or goes, and a sense of fear. It's always whatever is appearing to happen. Always, if it's fear, that's it. But when there's a sense of separation, then it's everything is slightly off, and this was it, that glimpse was it, and there's a kind of narrative around the glimpse, and now the glimpse is over, and I'm trying to understand the glimpse. And then I have another glimpse. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's this kind of lived sense of that this is it, now it's not, then it is, then it's not, and it's all in a narrative. The narrative is all about me. All the time there's just aliveness. So everything that appears to happen, and none of it is in any way significant. So the glimpses aren't significant. They don't matter. It's just the way it appeared that way. It will never be like that again. It didn't even really happen. It's just whatever. It's unknowable. Like, it's not a state. I'm not talking about some sort of state or experience or Nothing like that. It's just that either feels like there's a you or it doesn't. There's either a sense of separation or there isn't. Like fear is a very full-on alive thing. Pain also. Pain is very full-on alive. But then when you feel it's your pain and you're filtering it and you're trying to know it and trying to push it away and da-da-da-da.
Hi,
Hi, Angie.
Kenneth. So I like how you describe this sense of individuality as a feeling of contraction,
Mm,
because it really feels like relaxation when it's seen that this is just a happening, regardless of the whatever is appearing to happen. Is just there's no solidity to anything. So
yeah,
then it feels like a relaxation out of that contraction.
yeah.
So it doesn't really matter what's happening, you know.
No,
It
no,
could
it
be
doesn't. No, no.
good
Because
or it could be bad. You could be at the receiving end or something, or you could be giving suffering. There's no goal of being good, or so there's just this relaxation, so as opposed to the contraction, it
yeah,
it appears, and I know it's a description of just what's
no,
appearing
sounds
to
lovely.
happen here, but yeah.
Sounds lovely. Yeah, I mean that's it. Like there's nothing happening. This is nothing appearing to happen.
Yeah.
When you feel like an individual, it's not nothing appearing to happen. It's real. It's really happening in time and space, and it's happening to me. And if
Yeah.
it's not happening to me, it's happened to me and other people, or other people. So that realness is it's really felt, yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah,
and you also sense the contraction in other, that feeling of contraction, and it's sometimes like, what is there to hold on to? Why are you so tight, so
yeah,
contracted?
yeah,
You don't see the reason why that happens on the other side.
yeah. You see it. That you can certainly see it. Yeah, I mean, like even like somebody with a really constricted, uh, narrow kind of worldview or a belief system, you know, and they're this is it's very dichotomous. It's very this person's wrong and I'm right. We need to vote for this person and not this person. And
Yeah,
like you say, when you talk to these people, it is exactly like that. It's like a oh, there's a kind of a heaviness to it. Like it's like a oh, like a like it is that it is
yeah,
an energetic contraction. Yeah, and then
yeah,
yeah, it is like this whole sharing is is a loosening or a, a kind of there's an expansiveness to this that I can never find the words for that I'm totally stunned by because it has
yeah,
nothing to do with me and it's the only word I land on that seems to kind of say it for me is boundless. There's a boundlessness to this uh, and everything is boundless anyway. That's how it is. When it's shared like this, the boundlessness of this can be obvious to
yeah,
nobody. And it could also simultaneously be a fear. A fear could be a sense of being confronted by it and not wanting it could simultaneously be there as well. This kind of flavor of boundlessness can be sensed as well, or either extreme, of course. But
and there's
yeah,
still a sense of the body, so it's almost like, I know this is just a description, but almost like it's not that you see yourself from outside the body, but it's
no,
like you
no,
become aware of the patterns and of the way the body reacts to
mm.
circumstances, but it's like, who
Yeah, yeah.
cares? The
Who
body's
cares?
doing its own thing,
It
kind of.
doesn't matter. Who cares? Yeah, I think we were talking about that a bit yesterday. Someone was talking about insights, and you can have all of these insights, and about the way you are and the way that, oh, this actually appeared to be like this and it was actually like this, and none of them matter. It doesn't
No.
matter. There's nothing to hold on to, you
Yeah.
know. There's nothing to hold on to. It's an in loveness with what's appearing to be from nobody, and it's a full-on adventure for nobody, and that's what liberation is, not the
Exactly.
safe, lovely kind of state that you imagine where everyone loves you and they think you're great, and you just experience bliss all the time, or you resolve all your mommy issues, or it's all nonsense. It's all just concept.
Yeah, and
It's
I like
just
that
rubbish.
that word in loveness, because it doesn't mean that you like everything. It's not
Oh
like you
yeah,
like everything. It's
yeah,
just this feeling that anything can happen and anything is allowed to happen. Like,
yeah.
there's no controlling, no, as you say, there's no authority. So it's just whatever is happening.
Yeah. It's a play of light, and it could be immensely painful. Yeah, and that's what would be appearing to happen. But it's the difference between you feeling that it's something happening
To
to you.
you, to a solid you,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And it being a play of light that is sometimes painful, sometimes
Yeah.
pleasurable.
And you're there just like, everyone else is like, what
Oh
makes
yeah,
you
no,
special with your feelings and your,
yeah,
uh,
of course. Like that's that all like. Of course, people, when they think about a thing called, say, liberation or enlightenment or whatever, of course they imagine it to be some sort of special state, because that's dualism. Duality is this play of opposites, and they feel that, everything's a kind of a bit stale and secondhand. And there's this special guy who traveled to this remote area of the Amazonian jungle and licked a frog's ass and lived in a fucking cave for 10 years. And he's got this special knowledge because he went to Jupiter and he came back, and he's going to share it with us. And it's just stunning. And we got to get a piece of that, because this just isn't, it's
and
so
people
funny.
believe that, or someone who
Yeah.
lived many years ago and they did some austerities or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that's the way, like, for the individual, it kind of has to be, if the individual is imagining liberation or whatever, what we're talking about here, they're invariably kind of hit on something special, and they'll find evidence for it. Then they'll find the person who wrote the book, who had the ashram in India, and they were enlightened. So don't tell me there's no such thing as an enlightened person, because I read the books of the people who followed the enlightened person, and I was at the ashram, and I felt the specialness, and so it feels real. It all feels real. And so they continue to pursue something special, and that special thing is not sitting on a chair breathing.
And to
Like,
become worthy of it too. Whereas they
yeah,
already are, right? So they
yeah,
need something to apply effort and to reach that end goal.
yeah, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah,
Without
there is
effort
that
is not
unworthiness
with
aspect.
yeah, exactly. Without effort is not it's not real. Like you can't just be it.
Oh
You
no,
gotta
it's ridiculous.
deserve it.
What's being suggested here to the individual is just absolutely ridiculous. It's just ridiculous that it's just this. Come on now, come on. You
And
got to
you
do
are it.
better than that. Yeah, you are already. I'm already what's being looked for. Like, yeah, no, 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 thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I'm going to see Tony
I could
Robbins
be
next
better.
month, so I'm okay with you. Thanks. I'll wait for Tony. He's going to fill me up with hope, or whoever else. You know what I mean?
All these protocols, what to do at what time.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Totally. I mean, you're just being, um, you're just looking for the individual's just looking for a communication that feeds the individual. So the more protocols it has, and the more structured it is, and the more prescriptive it is, the more appealing it would be, because the more it reinforces that I actually am an individual and I can do something to get somewhere. This is not a communication that anyone wants to hear. This is for nobody. It's actually complete unconditional love. And it's not,
Yeah. It's like telling someone to relax, it's like how
yeah,
there's
yeah.
no it's either happening or it's not. It's not
I find
something
that
you
works
can
very well with my wife, though. I think that came up before. I just say, darling, relax. I know you told me to do the, I forgot, just relax. Looks like a charm every time.
relax, it doesn't really matter.
Relax, it's fine. Or else I'd say, if it's not working, I'd just say, you just need to calm down now. And then that'll do the trick then. And she'd say, okay, sorry, I wasn't aware. I did, that's exactly what I need to do.
Yeah, I see something unpleasant coming your way.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. No, there's nothing needed, there's nothing to be done, because there's no one to do it. So speaking to the illusion of the individual, trying to get them to not be an individual, is like somebody, as been quoted quite often, like you trying not to be an individual is like you trying to grab your ankles and pull yourself off the ground. Like, that's how ridiculous it is. And the harder you try, maybe you think, oh, I'm not trying hard enough, so just pull harder then. And you'll hear from teachers, well, you've got the wrong technique. You need to grip in a different way, and that you'll get there eventually. I got there, so we keep trying to pull ourselves off the ground.
Yeah, and then there's stages. First step onto a stool, and then
Yeah,
you're
there's stages, yeah. You progress through the levels.
yeah.
Yeah. um, yeah, it's too simple, that's the problem. It's just too directly just. But the other thing is, we all know this. Like, I'm not telling anyone anything here they don't know. They pretend not to know. That's what it is. Maybe they pretend not to know is not a great way of putting it, but they, like everyone in here, there's nobody in here, but the bodies that are in this room are unconditional love body, and that's all they are. And of course, that's known then, because that's all they are. So equally, like, whether it's online or in the room or whatever, it doesn't matter. And then what it is really is just like this overlay, then just like an artificial overlay that goes over that, then, of this sense of separateness.
Yeah.
And then that's what then, like, almost pretends not to hear this, but it doesn't want to hear it anyway. And because it lives in knowing, it wants to make something of it and just goes around in knowing. And this is not knowable. It's not knowable. It's just aliveness, nothing being everything. It's not knowable. If once you know it, then it's an object to you
Yeah.
that's separate to it. So you're just in abstraction then. That's all it is.
So it's just like being everything, you're not in it, you're not out
Yeah.
of it, you're
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
is stunning when it's seen, because it's just so obvious and immediate and directly whatever's appearing to happen. But if you feel like an individual, your concept of wholeness or whatever will be just whatever it is, it's just going to be just that, just a concept. and
Yeah.
you will have, like, people literally have an idea of wholeness, and people teach, they think they are teachers, and they speak to people about how they can do something to get to wholeness. It's so ridiculous.
If
It's
it's wholeness,
absolutely,
it's all inclusive. There's
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
outside of
It's
wholeness.
exactly like, so there's either wholeness or there isn't.
Yeah.
So what they're describing in
You
that, what
can't
I
add
just said,
yourself to the wholeness. You can't get
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, because if you can get there, then it's not wholeness, it's two. So
Yeah.
it's duality. So all it is in the story of separation, stories in the story of separation about not being separate. And they're the ones that are appealing to the individual. They're the ones, because energetically the individual knows it's completely safe with that. It's totally safe with the teachings of such and such a person, because that means it can be an abstraction out here and I can work my way to it. So it's great. Happy days.
Yeah.
And that's why they're so popular. That's why you have communications that can fill an arena. You know, it can literally fill an arena with thousands and thousands of people. Of course it can, because it's a hopeful energy that someday we'll all be united and whole and one and blah 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 blah. I'm not
And
going
you can
book
get
number
what
two
you want,
anytime
and you
soon.
can be happy forever.
Huh?
You can get what you want, and you can be happy forever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. However that's packaged, like.
I just heard a scientist recently speaking about this destruction of the earth, and he said we are users of natures instead of living alongside nature. And I was thinking, we are nature. It's like it's not like we should be living alongside nature. We are like it's all one.
Yeah,
There's no,
fundamental ignorance. Like even
yeah,
that, like he's trying to, again, he's trying to conceptually, like there's something wrong where we're using nature, we're objectivizing it, we're exploiting it instead of living in harmony with nature. But he's not,
yeah,
he's missing the fundamental ignorance, is that the sense that there's a thing called nature and us.
yeah. Like
There
we
is
are
no
the
thing
same
called
thing.
nature and us. And
Yeah,
that's
we
the arrogance of that is just absolutely dazzling when you see it. It's just stunning.
yeah, we are not something looking out at the nature. We are
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah, it's just aliveness. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so great. We're going to save the planet. We're such a beautiful race. We're gonna do it. We're gonna save the planet.
Or save the species by colonizing Mars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think we'll have a cup of tea. It's about that time, is it? Yeah. I'd say kind of 40 minutes ish, guys, for you online. And what I'll do is I'll close it down, and you'll be in the waiting room then again.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sounds so sad.
Huh?
So sad. They can't come with us.
Yeah. They're really missing out.